Straight answers. After 30 years. Over the last 30 years, hundreds of Americans have sat across a table planning for retirement. Some had $5 million dollars and were terrified. Others had $300,000 and were completely fine. After doing this for that long, you start to see the same patterns, the same mistakes, and the same questions that nobody gives you a straight answer to. So today we are going to give you straight answers to all of them. Here is what we will cover: why most retirement calculators are completely lying to you about how much you actually need, the one decision that can add or subtract $100,000 or more in retirement, and people make that decision by accident, how some retirees legally pay less than 10% in taxes while others are paying over 35%, the account mistake that quietly drains your savings 5 to 10 years too early, and what every single person who is about to retire needs to hear, whether they have 500,000 or 5 million. Stick with this for the next few minutes, and you will know things that most people pay thousands of dollars to learn. Let's get into it. Point 1. Why most retirement calculators are lying to you. Every retirement calculator is built on assumptions that are simply wrong, and those wrong assumptions will either cause you to work longer than you need to, or they will make you feel guilty about spending your own money. Here is what every calculator does: it takes your annual spending, adds 3% inflation every year, and runs it out for 30 years in a straight line. Same spending every year, going up and up and up. But that is not how retirement works. It is not even close. Retirement spending follows a curve. You can call it the spending smile. In your early 60s, you are active, you are traveling, doing all the things you have been waiting your whole life to do. Spending is high. In your 70s, things start to slow down. You are still comfortable, but you are not moving at the same fast pace. Spending starts to level off. In your 80s, the world gets a lot smaller. You are spending less because you are doing less, but the calculators do not know that. They assume you are spending the same amount of money at age 85 as you are at age 65. And because of that, they tell you that you need way more money than you actually do. So here is what a better approach looks like. Instead of running a flat spending projection, you model in the spending smile. You front load the income in the early years when you are healthy and active, and you taper it down later when you do not need as much. That is how life actually works. When you do this, two things happen. First, people who thought they could not retire realize they finally can. Second, people who thought they could not afford to travel and enjoy themselves in their early 60s realize that they have been holding back for no reason. A real life example. Someone age 62 with about 1.4 million saved. Every calculator who's told him he needed 8 million to retire. So he was planning to work 3 more years. But when we ran the numbers with the spending smile instead of flat spending, he realized he was already there. He did not need 1.8 million. He needed what he already had. He looked at me and said, "So, I have been planning to work for nothing?" No. He would have been working for a calculator that did not understand what his retirement actually looks like. Once you understand that your spending is not flat, everything changes. How much you need changes. When you can retire changes. Point 2. The one decision that can add or cost you $100,000. That decision is when to take Social Security. Most people take it the moment they are eligible. Age 62. They figure the money is already there, so why not take it? Or they retire at 63 or 64 and turn it on, then just because it feels like the natural thing to do. But here's what they do not realize: they are locking in a permanent pay cut. If you take Social Security at age 62, your benefit is reduced by about 30% compared to your full retirement age. And that reduction does not go away. It follows you for the rest of your life. On the other hand, if you delay past your full retirement age, your benefit grows by about 8% per year until you reach age 70. That is a guaranteed return. No market risk, no volatility. Just 8% more per year every year until you turn 70. The difference between claiming at 62 and claiming at 70 can be over $1,000 a month in income for the rest of your life. Run that over a 20 to 25-year retirement, and you are looking at well over $100,000. For some couples, that is $200,000 or more. Now, this is not a one-size-fits-all strategy. If you need the income to eat, take it. If your health is poor and you're single, maybe take it then. But do not make the decision by default. Run the numbers. Most people never ask, how can I bridge the gap between age 62 and 70 to maximize my Social Security benefit? The word bridge is key. If you can cover your expenses from your savings for even a few extra years, you can let your Social Security grow into a much larger guaranteed paycheck for the rest of your life. That puts less stress on your portfolio. The question is not really, should I take Social Security early or late? The question is, can I afford to wait? And if so, how long? A real couple's example. Both age 64 with about $900,000 saved. They were planning to take Social Security at 65 because it felt like the right thing to do. The numbers showed it was a little tight, not much room for error. Then we ran the numbers with one change: delay Social Security to age 70 for the higher wage earner. The other spouse could take hers at 67. Everything else stayed the same. That one change added almost $200,000 to their projected lifetime income. Their plan went from tight to really comfortable night, not because of how much they saved, but because of when they started taking Social Security. Point 3. Why you are probably paying more taxes than you need to. Some retirees legally pay less than 10% in federal income tax. I regularly see retirees pay 6, 7, 8%. Meanwhile, people who are still working pay 25%, 35%, sometimes 40% or more. Most people assume that when you retire, your taxes automatically go down, but it is not that simple. For many retirees, taxes do not go down, they may actually go up. Here is what changes when you retire. You get access to deductions and credits that were not available to you before. If you are over age 65, your standard deduction goes up. There are also new deductions that can apply. And if you structure your income correctly, you can sell appreciated assets and pay zero federal capital gains tax legally. But none of this happens automatically. These tax breaks exist, but they only work if your income is set up to take advantage of them. The key is understanding the difference between your marginal tax rate and your average tax rate. When you are working, you might be in the 24% tax bracket. That is your marginal rate, what you pay on your last dollar of income. But in retirement, if you coordinate where your income comes from, your average tax rate, the actual percentage of your total income that goes to taxes, can be in the single digits. How is that possible? Money pulled from pre-tax IRA accounts is taxed as ordinary income. Money pulled from a Roth IRA comes out tax-free. Money pulled from a brokerage account with long-term capital gains might be taxed at 0% if you stay below certain thresholds. Social Security may be only partially taxable or not taxed at all, depending on your other income. When you blend these sources strategically, you fill up the lowest tax brackets first, and you keep your overall tax rate down. But most people do not do this. They pull from whatever account is easiest, and they end up paying thousands of dollars more in taxes than they need to every year. A real example. A retiree had about 1.2 million across a few accounts. He was pulling everything from his traditional IRA because that was where most of his money was. But pulling $80,000 a year from his IRA alone pushed him into the 22% tax bracket. It also made 85% of his Social Security taxable, and it triggered higher Medicare premiums that he did not know about until the bill arrived. We restructured his withdrawals, took some from his IRA, some from his Roth, harvested capital gains at the 0% rate. His federal income tax bill dropped by over $7,000 that year. He did not earn less. He did not spend less. He just pulled from different buckets in a different order. Point 4, the account mistake that quietly drains your savings. Where you take your money from matters just as much as how much you take. And most people get it backwards. Here's what typically happens. Someone retires. They have a traditional IRA, maybe a Roth IRA, and a regular brokerage account. They need income, so they start pulling from whatever is easiest. Often the brokerage account because there is no penalty, no age restriction, and the taxes are already paid on that money. That sounds logical. But here's the problem. They drain their brokerage account first and let their IRA grow and grow. Then the problem shows up later when they reach RMD age, required minimum distributions. The government forces them to take large amounts of money out of their IRA in their mid-70s, and all of that income becomes taxable. It pushes them into higher tax brackets, triggers higher Medicare premiums, IRMAA, and makes more of their Social Security taxable. And remember, people in their 70s typically need less money, not more. So you are being forced to take more income when you need it less, paying higher taxes, and losing benefits. The better approach is often the opposite. In your early retirement years, at your 60s, you are likely in your lowest tax bracket. That is the perfect time to start taking money from your pre-tax IRA accounts. You pay taxes at a lower rate and you reduce the future RMD burden. At the same time, you preserve your Roth IRA and taxable brokerage accounts for later flexibility. A real couple's example. A couple in their early 70s had 1.8 million in their IRAs. They had done what many people do, spent down their brokerage account, and left the IRA sun-touched because they did not want to deal with the taxes. The problem was that if they did nothing, they would be forced to take 75,000 to 80,000 a year when RMDs kicked in. That income plus their pension would make 8 off you 400 per year just for Medicare. 400 per year just if they had started strategically withdrawing from their IRAs in their 60s, they would have been in a much lower tax bracket. Many people make decisions to get the lowest tax bill today instead of what reduces their lifetime tax bill. Always think about your lifetime tax bill. If you are in your early 60s or mid 60s, you have time before RMDs hit. Start chopping away at your IRA accounts now. That reduces the future tax bomb that will hit at age 73 or 75. The biggest risk isn't running out of money, it's running out of time. This is what every single person who sits down to plan for retirement needs to hear, whether they have 500,000 or 5 million. The biggest risk in retirement is not running out of money. It is running out of time. I have watched people delay retirement for years, waiting for the right time, waiting for the market to settle down, waiting until they earn a little bit more, waiting until they feel ready. And then something happens. Their health changes. Their spouse gets sick. And suddenly it is too late. They had the money, they had the time, but they did not give themselves permission to move forward. We spend so much time planning the financial side of retirement that we forget the whole point of money is to fund the life you actually want. Too many people have plenty of money, but cannot get themselves to actually retire and do the things they really want to do. The reason is fear. So they leave a lot of life on the table. We stress test the plan, we build in margin, we account for market crashes, healthcare costs, living longer than expected. Once the plan can handle all of those things, guess what? You move forward. Not because you have all the answers, but because you have answered enough of them. The default for many people is simply to freeze, to keep working another year, then another year, then another year. And then they wonder why their life looks the same as it did 5 years ago. As the saying goes, when you start walking, the path appears. You do not get clarity by waiting. You get clarity by moving. A final example. A 61-year-old with $1.6 million saved. Every time we met, there was a new worry. What if the market crashes? What if healthcare costs more than I think? What if I live to 95? His plan was solid. We had run almost every scenario, but he still could not pull the trigger. I finally asked him, "What are you waiting for?" He did not have an answer. When he finally did retire and took those trips he wanted, to Portugal, France, all those things with his wife, he said later, "Why did I wait so long?" Once you move forward, everything lines up. Money is a tool for you to live your life. And life is the point. Final thoughts. General advice only gets you so far. At some point, you need the math applied to your real situation. That is why understanding your real spending curve, your Social Security timing, your tax strategy, and your withdrawal order matters so much. You worked hard to build your savings. Now give yourself permission to use them. Do not let a calculator that does not know your life make you work 3 extra years for no reason. Do not let fear steal your best years. The best time to start was yesterday. The next best time is right now.